How do we know what we believe?
Bringing that back to how many decisions do we make actively knowing what we're making, it is frightening. And then combine that with being bombarded by, this number just keeps going up, but you're having thousands of messages in one way or another blasted at you every single day. Now, how many of those are actually sticking? And secondly, how many of those are not only sticking but influencing you without you even knowing it?
What leads to us making decisions as humans, and what is the consequence of the attention economy where people are endlessly scrolling, transactionally dating, and getting exactly what they want when they want it?
What's really important at the end of the day is strong, good, healthy values, and they can just be simple values, like the value of being able to socialise, to treat others with respect and love and kindness, and not be hooked on bloomin' dopamine.
Well, let's discuss all that in this podcast. I like to start any podcast with sort of the journey that people should go on. So like the guide that's going to take us on this journey. So this is your opportunity for the quick pitch of what do you do?
Well, what we do is we look to deeply understand our clients, their needs, and where they want to be, and ultimately build a journey for them to get there in terms of growth targets, whether it's a revenue target or profit target, and then what is the digital marketing that needs to underpin the ability to get there ultimately.
Cool. All right, we're going to do some marketing chats. I think people want to know who you are. So where were you born, brother? Let's go way back.
I was born in Hamilton Hospital, I guess Waikato Hospital. In Hamilton.
What were your thoughts on it being rated one of the most beautiful cities in New Zealand? And Wanganui, but with an H.
Depends where you go. The river is lovely. There's some. The river walks are fantastic, especially on a good day.
Yeah.
Amazing. The gardens are good. I heard they were rated like one of the best in the world.
Wow.
And
that's
I was
crazy.
Like, it's fair. They're really good gardens. So.
I think you guys got a branding issue, especially in Auckland. Auckland talks so much shit about Hamilton. I have no idea why. Like, I'm from Palmerston North. It's much worse.
Go the Tron.
Do you get a lot of smack about Hamilton, or do you
from time to time?
Yeah,
from
why?
time to time.
What's the brand? What's their digital marketing issue?
I think it's a wider marketing issue, which stems back to bring back the Hamilton on. Turn it on. What happened to that? That disappeared. Got turned off. Was it? Oh, the other catchline was a city of the future. What happened to that? Bring that back. It all disappeared. I've been up in Auckland for over 10 years now.
Oh yeah.
And then I've recently gone back to Hamilton. They've lost a bit of mojo, so I'm not sure. Maybe it all went downhill after the 300 bankrupted them. I think maybe that was the nail in the coffin.
Oh, we've got a resident expert on Hamilton. Okay, hypothetically speaking, if you became the mayor of Hamilton and you could influence anything you wanted, what are we changing in Hamilton?
The Tahuya. I don't know how much influence he has or they have over the Tahuya, but the mighty Tahuya is coming back. And I think I
don't actually know what Tahuya is.
Oh, see,
you
this
keep
is the problem.
Reference, brother.
This is the problem.
Go on, then.
Not enough marketing.
Yeah. We need you. Grow Hamilton.
Yeah.
That should be your next project. Yeah, Tahuya. What's Tahuya?
The Tahuya is the mighty train that carters people from the centre of Hamilton up to the Great Auckland into the Strand. It's been running for 2 years. I am a local partaker. Gets me up into Auckland on a regular basis. Has recently been banned from Auckland. If you're not up to speed with that. It ran 2 red lights and put the passengers in danger. And actually something that went unreported, I was on the train at the time and we hit a vehicle. So, it hasn't been ideal.
What? Why are they not braking, or like why are the things not working? What?
Supposedly it goes that the train didn't have the technology on it to be able to cross onto the right track, and so it just ran onto the wrong track. Because it's a second-hand train that they got from Australia, I think it's missing a few bits and bobs. And
So you fix the train would be step
I'd
one.
fix it, yeah. And I think what's actually needed is like if you go to where things are happening really well, like look at the trains in Japan.
Oh, money.
And yeah, it's phenomenal. And you can, I've coined it sort of like a train culture, where it's just normal to jump on the train and you know you're going to get there on time. So I think we've got to build that train culture so there's enough like demand for people seeing that as a viable alternative to come live in Hamilton, work in Auckland as you need to, jump on the train, get there within a reasonable amount of time, be able to work on the train, still have that productivity there. I think it's possible, but yeah. It's not without its struggles.
So let's say, like, I never thought we were going to talk about fucking trains. That's why I love this show.
Taking a tangent.
I've learned so much. So, okay, let's say your job, we had this beautiful train like Japan, and it was your job to market it, to make a cultural shift so we stop driving everywhere. How are we doing it?
Well, I think just 101, some like basic awareness, like the amount of conversations I've had where people like yourself is like, what's the tahuya? Yeah. What? There's a train that goes from Hamilton to Auckland. Like this is completely new and it's been there for 2 years. So there's definitely a marketing issue, a brand awareness issue, sort of product, service.
What platforms are we using? We're going TikTok, we're going Facebook Reels, we're going TV, newspaper, billboards.
Oh gosh, I think like any good marketer, you got to go back to who is your audience. Where are they consuming media? And when I'm on the train, I actually see like a really wide range of people because they're using it for different purposes. Some like myself, they'll open up their laptop, they'll work the whole way up. They're going there for business. Others like you got all the people on their gold card, like all the retirees going up and just going up for the day trip. Just having a nice time on the Tahui, and then you've got families, and you've got a whole range of people. So maybe you just need to pick a segment and just go like here you go. That's what I'd do. I'd have a second train just for the business people, and kit it out. So you've got all your ability to charge your laptop, to have a full sort of setup to be able to work on the train. Probably a faster train that goes straight into the CBD, and then you could market directly using digital marketing to the business people on platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook. Yeah, interesting.
I've sorry for putting you through that. It was just interesting, just randomly went there, but like there's something I'm thinking about, like content-led targeting. So what I mean by that is, like it used to be the secret sauce where you're like, oh yeah, I know how to target the right people. I can put this in the audience segment and I can write the thing that appeals to them. But now there seems to be a shift, the TikTokification of social media, where it's interest-led. So where the content is being served up to the people that want to consume that interest. So what are your thoughts on content-led targeting, or how are you seeing targeting change in marketing since you started?
It's going to come back down to the product or service that it's going to be in relation to. So if you've got a really like interesting product or service that generally like you only have to show a little bit about it and it sort of gets people intrigued, then a lot of the content does the talking for you, because like if your product is sexy, people are like, oh shoot, yeah, show me more of that, But if you got something really like complicated or really dry and boring, that's really difficult to sell with this sort of content piece. It can be a challenge, but I think with the likes of if you're talking about the TikTokification, where you can take sort of sound bites of creative UGC content, and you've got a product or service that is easy enough to do that for, half the job's already done. And then that sort of broader interest targeting and ability to reach people through that method becomes a whole nother channel that we didn't really have a few years back.
Yeah, I wonder, like, you said something interesting there about like if it's not boring and it's not complicated. In a way, like, so I used to always just have to sell whatever someone gave me, because that's been my career. And now I get to like make it and decide on what's sexy in a way. should all products not be sexy and simple?
Yes, great question. I think any product will have its unique selling points. So it's around also sometimes bringing that out and discovering what those are within your target market and within the market. Like I've seen some brands, gosh, you'd think typically it's a really boring product. Like it'll just be like some kind of like roofing tile or something, and it's just that they've found something about it that people actually like, oh shit, it can do that, oh it does this, it has these features, oh and look at this person installing it and they're doing funny things with it, and it just brings like roofing tiles to life and something that seems so mundane, they've brought it to life. I know there's what's another one, I was like, actually I'll go drier than that, it was like a manufacturing plant, and they were just like making like pieces of material that go into other things. I'm like, you can't get more like uncool than that. And their whole social media strategy was just like showing behind the scenes. And so they were showing like how these pieces were made, just showing like all the big rigs in the factory and just like what goes into things and how people work with these things, and just brought the whole thing to life. And every day gets like thousands of engagements for what typically would be like a really hard area to crack into with social media and content.
Yeah, like I used to work in a banana factory.
Oh yeah,
we'll call it, and the official title is banana humper.
Scam places.
Is that what you call them? Scam places.
It's going places.
Oh, this is going places.
Scam places.
Yeah, scam places. Yeah, this is Australia actually.
Yeah.
Good instincts there. And you put them on their nice little pillows and drive them on a tractor. And they're like 60, 80 kilos, and you cut them off the tree. And you cut the whole tree down to get a banana. I don't know if you know that. Did you know that?
Can't say I do.
Yeah, so you get this tree, and you walk around barefoot with a machete. I was barefoot, and I had like fucking Rambo tied up my shirt because it was fucking 40 degrees. And then you go up to these trees, and you cut an X in it, and then you pull, and it folds between the X, and then you whip it over your head. So sometimes you leave your hand there and your finger's gone, and then you carry it, and then you put on these nice little pillows, and then you drive it on a tractor and line it up with a train track that's that size, and you have to reverse the tractor and then slide it off, and then it gets washed in these showers, and then you dehand it and your nipples start rotting because you're just in water all day, and then you put it in these nice little baths that go down to these people that put in boxes.
Wow, and that's how the banana's made.
That's how bananas are made.
I have a banana tree at home, actually.
Do you?
It has one bunch of bananas, and I don't think it gets that level of treatment, I'm afraid.
You got to step it up. Or you also got to spray them so they change colour.
Yes, yeah. Because they, I've found like if you just leave them too long, like they ripen like really quick on the trees. You got to get them while they're a bit green, and if you want a little bit of longevity to them.
Yeah, if you ever get a green one and try and ripen it, it takes a long ass time.
Yeah.
So they spray it to speed that up.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that.
Don't get on the spray. Are you an organic man?
I have a preference towards organic.
Interesting. Is it marketing or is it legit?
Oh, it's the health
like cage free.
Oh, just from like growing things at home. I try not to use any sort of pesticides or things that don't need to be used. But then also, you run into trouble when you just end up just getting absolutely annihilated by the bugs, and then you've put all this hard work into just decimated plants looking, in no produce.
Are you a gardener? You got green thumbs. Are you passionate about that?
I've just started first year into it. I had an amazing crop of tomatoes last summer, so broadening my horizons and my hobbies. Yeah.
It's not easy with the frost.
No, especially today, ice on the windshield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're prepared. Like my just to go on another random tangent, it seems to be the vibe today. Mum sort of believes there's going to be an Armageddon. I don't agree, but so she got part ownership on this community. I'm a hippie and a Catholic, so I'm a confused individual, and they all have this shared. What's it called when it's like a fruit place? What the fuck is orchard?
Yeah. I was like, a fruit commune?
Yeah, it's a fruit commune, bro. Everyone's bananas.
Yeah.
And Not my best work, to be honest. And they all share the... So she's covered if the Armageddon happens because she's got some food and they've got wild pigs.
Oh, nice. Yeah, bit of pork with your fruit. Yeah.
And eggs, and she goes chicken hunting.
Perfect.
So chicken hunting is when you open the cage and all the chickens assemble around you and you go hunting for grubs. So I just thought I'd share that with you.
Oh, you're giving me new things to consider.
This is all heavy business shit, bro. It applies. Interesting, though, relating it to business. If you include eyes in the honesty box, sounds a little fucked up. If you have a picture of someone and you can see their eyes, the likelihood of theft is dramatically decreases because of the consequences of being seen. So even though the reality is they're not being seen, it's because they have the presence of eyes, less people steal.
Yep, that doesn't surprise me. We do a lot of analysis of content and how people relate with that creative, and that's a big thing. If you can feature someone's face, and part of that will be the eyes, but there's something just deep down in our being that connects with people in a facial sort of structure. And if you have an ad of like a product versus say like a product with someone in it looking at you, generally speaking, the one with the person in it will perform better because there's something about that human connection, and we can't get away from it.
Well, I find marketing is just the movement towards connection. So it's like I look at thumbnails. So I went deep on thumbnails, and it's like the extremity of expression impacts the amount of times they'll click. So if you think you're walking down the street and you see someone that's really angry, really sad, really excited, and just even, which one are you going to be gravitated towards? And then also you think of bright colors. So if there's strong contrasting colors, the same way marketing in supermarkets will appeal to people because the colors represent certain foods or certain feelings. And then the other thing is, does the thumbnail tell the story of the title? And it's all just human interaction in a two-dimensional world, It's like it's just a movement to try and represent people as they truly are. Or even like when you have on a website, the gaze, if you think about where the eyes are looking, there's you can see if you follow people's eyes, they look where the eyes are looking.
Yeah.
So you even think about that on the level of making a website. But anyway, so what are your thoughts on marketing being more... Is that a fair hypothesis that we are just trying to get closer to human interaction?
Yeah, look, I think that looks at two different angles, because the first one is around authenticity, and that's been a big shift that we've made culturally recently, and I think that is missing in that, what can just be very digital and stale and corporate type of...
the music, I can hear it now.
Yeah. way of being, and people, especially in New Zealand, we want to be able to sit down, shake someone by the hand, look them in the eye, and just have an open, honest chat around how your marketing is going. And so if you look at the likes of the speed of things like AI and what that means for things like all the way through to script writing for movies and TV shows, I think what we'll find in what I'm experiencing is that there's like a dryness to the stories that are being told. Like it's putting a plot line in a story, and this can be applied to anything. It's just a general principle of like, AI is only ever going to replicate and mimic what it knows it is meant to do, and whatever that data source it is that's been trained on. But it's very difficult to mimic at a very deep level an authentic relationship and communication, and to be able to share a personal story. And whilst it might sound like one or mimic one, it's always a mimicry. It's never going to have the realness that comes out in a much deeper setting with a human, and all the sort of flaws and things that come along with that make something authentic. It's not all nice and polished, and as much as you can train flaws into it, I think we, at least at this stage, can recognize something that is truly human, that can't be taken away.
Well, it's an interesting insight. Like I disagree. But and this is a safe space to disagree, so you can shit on me too.
Go for it.
So I think of creativity as like a variable number of inputs filtered through your computer. So you have this person's idea, this person's idea, this person's idea filtered through your experience. I think that could be replicated by AI if it's got enough varied inputs and enough unique processing. So it could replicate a type of person's experience, for example, and filter that, and it would sound human. The part that I think is interesting is humans seem to value cost. So like if I type and send you an email as opposed to I handwrite something and send it to you, the fact that it required more effort and it's more of me involved, then it has more value. Or the guy that made the children's book, that completely AI, horrible reviews because of the lack of effort that was invested into the creation of it. But yeah, go on. What do you?
Well, yeah, it is interesting because I think you're right in the sense that at the end of the day, if it has the source, it is able to do a great job of taking that and then replicating it. So if it has creative sources, like this is a big problem at the moment, is like artists, all their work is just getting stolen.
And
just
Midjourney's so
recreated.
good, bro.
Yeah, and then but the thing that it's missing is if it doesn't have a source, it's got nothing to feed on and to be trained on. If you look at the likes of going back to what you're talking about with like eye tracking, like we're doing this big project at the moment looking at how our target audience for one of our clients is interacting with their website. What are they looking at? But then what are they clicking? And what we're finding is that users do a lot of subconscious thinking, and you see that come through where they look versus what they necessarily do or click on with their mouse. So AI would typically look at sort of that raw data of what did they click on, but it won't have that data feed of like what did they look at, where did their attention go with their eyes. Like unless you pumped in and streamed in like an eye feed of data, which who knows?
Already there.
Yeah, with the bring back the Google Glass. But generally speaking, like there's always going to be elements missing that aren't being actively fed in, and that's where I think when we are able to take that level of sort of study and manually look at how that applies, we can apply a different sort of way of thinking to things that isn't just sort of mass data that AI is being trained on.
Okay, here's a deep one for you. So, do you think in a way, like let's say there's some level of consciousness that is beyond, you're like, what the fuck? How's this relate? We're not talking about bananas this time, bro. So like, let's say there's like, we're going deep, bro. We're going deep. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, AI lacks some level of consciousness or some lack of soul. Like I'm not a religious guy, but... And then imagine there's some level of soul in the creative process of human design, like we're doing it versus AI, and we have an intuitive sense that this has a soul and this doesn't. Do you think that plays a part, or is it purely just a lack of input? Do you think it could replicate it so completely that we'll never know? Does AI have a soul? Easy questions, bro.
I think there's just layers to the question and to the answer. I mean, at the surface level, in terms of what we see, we are now seeing creative that is as good and unrecognizably the same as what humans are creating. So like I follow this thing where they do this test of like A and B, and it's like which one is the which one's the human one, which one's the AI one, and it's really hard to tell now, except for the ones where the hand has an extra finger. That's usually the dead giveaway. But it's all, I suppose, coming back to the subconscious and the nuances. These are little signals that an AI will never have. It will never have the full and complete picture. Whether you want to draw that to the ability to something deeper, like down in the soul level, or just through sheer complexity of experience, like the type of skill sets and requirements now are going to be not so much coming up with the creative ideas, because you look at AI can just pump out 100 creative ideas for you. It's all to do with analysing them and selecting them based on what you know, because there's only a limit set of parameters that the AI is ever working within. So yeah, I think there's always going to be a level of constraint to AI. And it's just understanding, whether it's at that sort of deeper soul level or just that complexity of nuances and subconscious level as to, like, why do you like an image over another image? Like, what is your personal preference when you make that decision? What is it based on?
That's a good question back. I know it's rhetoric, but that's fascinating. Eh? What leads to a person liking certain things? Like, I think of, there's some level, like, let's say attraction, symmetry, and there's also in terms of pheromones. If a person has a similar biome to you in a way, if similar, like, let's say they have the same ability to, if you combine your immunology with theirs, like if you combine your ability to navigate germs, there we say, I'm trying to use fancy words, but I shouldn't. Basically, they can handle germs in a different way than you, and they find just by that smell, that girls would like smell a shirt of a guy, and they would be more attracted to that guy based on how their germs match.
Yes,
which is interesting, and the evolutionary benefit. But then I also think about, there's different tribes where they've got really long necks from the bands that they put on them. Yeah. There are tribes that mutilate their skin in order to be more attractive, and then you have model-like people in the Western world, or like in Asia where they have like whitening creams. But I don't think that's an inherent human experience of, hey, I want this thing. It seems to be as much the outside's influencing us on what is attractive. So back to your question, what do you think why do things appeal to some people and others don't?
I mean, that's
these are easy questions.
Comes back to marketing.
Oh yeah, go on, bring them up. We'll talk about marketing.
But I mean, I'm just going to draw a similarity to marketing. Like, you got direct marketing, which is often just in your face. Like, here's an offer. Do you want it? And it's kind of like, I guess if you look at that kind of cultural aspect, like some things are a common place. It's very overt. If it's putting rings around your neck, you can see it, everyone's seeing it. So part of it is there's no subtlety to it. It's just also through things like frequency of exposure to something. So if everyone is seeing that rings around the neck is cool, or any of those things that you've put there, if it's having some crazy hairdo, think about fashions and trends. Why is a fashion for however long it is? But if you have enough frequency and exposure to it, some people will just adopt. Why is that? And then you can have a look at some of the subconscious decisions that go around. Why did they particularly choose a variant of that style? And so a lot of decisions are made direct, whether it's a price. Is that price right for me? Is that hairstyle right for me? Through to what are the subconscious decisions going on in the background? What led you to work out whether that cost was a good cost for you? Or that hairstyle is, how am I going to be perceived within my sort of culture and tribe? So I think there is definitely multiple components happening at once, and that's why marketing just isn't that straightforward, because sometimes you just need to have a good offer to the right person at the right time. Sometimes you need to have like brand and frequency and just get in front of the person enough times, and they'll be like, oh yeah, after the 20th time, they're like, that is a really cool thing, I'll get that. And they think they've made that decision themselves. But we're here clicking the counter going, all right, I got them on the 20th one.
Because I hear commonly people say like, oh, they're listening to us. The Facebook ads are listening to us. And I wonder that is like, how much of it is us being influenced or us influencing it? So what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on marketing and how culture influences people? Because we all want to fit in some way and conform and but feel like an individual, but really we're all sheep.
Yeah. Look, how do you know? I think everything's cyclical. because it's like data in, data out, and then going back to like, is it listening to me? There are times, without a doubt, where it has to be listening to you because there is no other data for it to make that connection. But then there are really complex algorithms that go into determining why someone might do something and the chance that they might do it, and it just happened to be that one of those matched and you get freaked out that it matched. And so, but then what were those algorithms built on? It's like the data going into it. So algorithms need data, but data's got to come from somewhere. So it's all got to feed into itself.
I think like the average human, I think, even me, most people I meet, including me, it's so easily influenced by their emotions. So you think about like how little data you'd probably need to influence a person. Like I have relatively limited data compared to Facebook advertising, but I could probably get a sense of if a person's in this environment, I know this about them, they're probably going to act in this way. And if I ask this kind of question in this way, it'll help them realize this about themselves. Like there's a certain, and then it gets to a point where the advertising's so good, we're just fucking, plugged in. You know what I mean? Like it'll be hard to resist because it's so potent.
Yes.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, it's scary where we're going because I think the average person would be terrified to know how many decisions they make in their subconscious without actually being in control. And so if you actually dig into like the behavioral sciences, you will see that our brain has like different systems that it works to. And if you think about the sort of the frontal lobe and our sort of direct decisions that, okay, I'm choosing to pick the banana out of the fruit bowl. There you go, callback.
Callback, yeah, shout out.
You might have really specifically chosen that banana because everything else didn't look appealing and you really felt like a banana. You made that conscious decision. But if you were just walking by the fruit bowl and you're like, shoot, I'm hungry, I just need a snack, and you just grab for something, there's probably a lot of like subconscious decisions being done in the sort of second part of your brain in the back end that you just reach and you actually chose an apple. Why? It's all happening on the fly. If you think, thinking fast and thinking slow, different brain systems. But bringing that back to how many decisions do we make actively knowing what we're making, it is frightening. And then combine that with being bombarded by, this number just keeps going up, but you're having thousands of messages in one way or another blasted at you every single day. Now, how many of those are actually sticking? And secondly, how many of those are not only sticking but influencing you without you even knowing it? And so, like, this opens up like bigger questions around like frequency and exposure to a message, and then what we call marketing attribution or attribution modeling. So how do we attribute if you've seen something and then acted on it? And all the studies show that when you're exposed to something enough times, you're greatly increased. You're much more likely to act on it just through sheer frequency. And so you think you acted on that on your own, but you didn't.
It was you. You got us.
It was me.
Wow, bro. Like, that's trippy. Because I think very little of my decisions are appropriate for the environment that I'm in. I have some level distorted view of my reality. It's an adaptative view of reality. So it's like there's an evolutionary psychologist on Lex Friedman, and he said, with almost 100% certainty, we are not seeing reality as it is because it's too energy cost ineffective. Like you're not, like if you look suddenly left and right, you won't see anything. It'll blur out everything that you just saw because it can't process all that all at once. And we're limited on what we can consume, comprehend, and understand. Now combine that with the emotions of your past experiences, as well as the confirmation bias where people tend to want to confirm what they know, not explore the truth. Very little of my decisions are logical.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, my mum didn't hug me when I was 5, so now every time someone high-fives me, I think they don't love me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just... So how do you tap into the emotions? Or do you think, is there a place for emotions in business? People think there isn't, but I think it's even almost more emotional.
So much to unpack.
Pick whatever.
There's so much to unpack there.
We've got 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's something that I've been doing a lot of thinking on at the moment, just through various experiences and different content that I'm reading. But the ability to understand things at that deeper level, which for so long has gone like unknown, but like even just taking your example there, like finally figuring out the connection that, it's because my mum didn't hug me when I was 5. Like
Yeah.
for the longest time, like we didn't have the science and the data and the ability to draw that conclusion, and now like we do. But not in all instances. In some instances, we finally do. And so it's like, what do we do with that information now that we know that? But then also, like, again, thinking about the experiences you've had and how much is that, like, feeding into a lot of the decisions you're making. I think, in one way, a lot of places are capitalizing on that in the sense of, like, nostalgia.
Why? Where did you go there, bro? You just lost it. No one knows why you're laughing except you.
No, they don't. Yeah,
you don't want to share it, do you?
A very good friend of mine calls it the nostalgia boner.
Oh, the nostalgia boner.
Yeah, I was tossing up
facts.
whether to bring that
out
in.
There now.
It is out there.
You're cancelled.
But I'm gone. I've lost it. No, like nostalgia is like a really big thing now. Like look at Barbie coming back.
Yeah, Barbie.
And
do you want to go there though?
I'll leave that one. But like, look at all the remakes and reruns and re-envisaged, TV shows, movies, soundtracks. Everything is just like it's rewriting the same plot line and narrative. Like we're struggling to come up with like really new and original things because I think we know it works. It's an easy sell. Like we know if we bring up Barbie to someone that used to play with Barbie back then, it's going to bring back all those memories from there, and it's a great opportunity to sell again. So I think you're going to see these like 20 to 30. That's the strategy there. Just capitalize on the nostalgia boner every 20 to 30 years as people from their childhood grow up, and then just remarket the same thing back to them. Like, just bring Star Wars back in again,
Pokemon,
and then sell it to the next. Yeah, look, Pokemon's going to be the next big thing.
Well, the cards, $1 million for a Pokemon card.
Yeah.
Charizard, yeah.
Mine all got thrown out.
You could be you might already be a millionaire. I don't know.
I had a Charizard once.
Like higher. What the fuck? Words. You know
shinies.
The shinies is all you call them. Hieroglyphics for ones. Yeah, shinies. You call them shinies. Were you a Pokemon man? Did you get in the Pokemon Go? Were you out there trying?
I did for a bit. Gosh, you should have seen me out there. I've never been so motivated to get my steps in.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. If I had known that, I wouldn't invite you on, mate. It's Yu-Gi-Oh or nothing, bro. Dragon Ball Z. You probably have a similar ilk, so you could. What was your cartoon like when you were a kid? What was like your fucking Woolstar? You know what I mean? Like it was right in the middle.
We weren't allowed to watch cartoons.
Oh, you were banned. But, Mormon.
I'd always go through
Amish. You give Amish vibes.
All the above. When I was over at my friend's house, we would watch Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon. Yeah.
Do you ever watch back and realize how shit the actual fight scenes were? Like they were drawn out for like 10 years, and then finally they throw a punch by the 10th episode.
That would not work on social media now. TikTok would be like, give me the 15-second summary. It's gone. We've lost the attention span. I mean, that's a true relic of like how much attention we had. Like, and we would book that slot in, Wednesday at 3 p.m. after school. Make sure we were there for that sort of 30-minute power up from Goku's. We had a lot of this going on back then.
Fucking Spirit Bomb all day of the week. It was for like 3 episodes. I struggle to watch it now.
Yeah,
like my attention,
it's gone. It's out the window.
Do you think so? Like, there's strong research that supports that if you develop a dopamine dependency early on, and you think about it, it's probably a bit dark, but the access to R-rated content as a young age. You're the attention span, so you're consuming TikTok, and you don't have the awkward social encounter, the transactional nature of dating. What do you think is the future? Do you think we're going to be like hunched over gremlins that can't even look people in the eyes, or what? Where are we going?
We're going into very murky waters, especially with, I think it's the fact that it's happening earlier and earlier, like people are getting hooked on the dopamine, having dopamine dependency, and what they're being exposed to at a much earlier age. We are yet to see what that is going to mean for the long term, but we are already starting to see a lot of like attention disorders. Being able to hold a conversation, being able to just socialize with peers. People would rather stay home than go out and socialize. People would rather just hang out with their friends than actually take the risk of like dating. And so, just is really basic math, but like, what will that mean in terms of like repopulating and the future of everything?
Jesus, what are you? Someone said to me, like, if you drop a cannonball from space, this relates to what you're saying, believe it or not, how often will it hit someone? Like, pretty low, and we're supposedly overpopulated and under-resourced, but we're not. There's a misallocation of resources, and we have a population that's decreasing. Some areas are increasing. Do you agree with that, or do you not know anything about it? Because I actually think we're not running out of resources, we're running out of people.
Yeah, I would tend to think that if we look at it, a lot of what we do is very inefficient, even within what we have. Let alone, imagine if we were a lot more efficient with space and resource. Like
Singapore,
we're sweet. We get a bit of hysteria around certain things.
Fuck, you think so many things and don't say to me. I mean, I don't give a fuck about my consequence. I just need a phone. I've got a business. If I get cancelled, it is what it is.
But I think what is just genuinely interesting is the idea of like populations. Like this, just hearing, like if you can't either maintain or increase your population, and your country goes into like getting smaller and smaller, like what happens? Or like even just like thinking through the baby boom, and if you've got like less people coming through, they sort of wear the burden of the inefficiencies. You got to fill the gap of what used to have resource there. So hopefully AI can help us a bit there. But otherwise, you got to have people. Otherwise, you have no country.
Yeah, well said, mate. That's a controversial opinion. I'm going to put my financial advisory hat on. The aging population, we're fucked. We can't afford them. I say to everyone I plan, anyone that's less than 40, I'm like, prepare for no pension. Because like you can't, yeah, and even now, I think it was 2013, 60 to 70% of people over the age of 65 only had like an extra $100 on top of super, and super's like fucking 25 grand to 30 grand ish after tax, and one's for a couple and one's for a single. So we're fucked. Start having babies.
Make babies, make money.
Make babies, make money to make more babies, probably.
And you probably need money if you're going to be making babies.
I think, so part of my long-term dream is to give every person the opportunity to live a fulfilling life. This will relate again. Once again, I just got on a random tangent, talk about me. And I was thinking of what the biggest ROI of where to target, and it was parents and businesses. Because a third of your life is spent at work, and if you hate it, then your life sucks. And then the other part is 0 to 3. If you help parents, support their children, a lot of their identity is developed then, and it's really hard to undo. So if you fuck them up 0 to 3, it's pretty well set. So I was just thinking, so I think like around that parenting component and supporting people, like why can't we make parenting more important in society? Why can't we? I'm going nowhere. Do you have kids? You got a ring, so you must be close.
Not yet.
Oof. How many do you want kids?
I do.
How many? Population, remember?
As many as I can.
Are you scared? Let's say you find out you're going to be a father in like 2 weeks. What
Amazing.
goes through your head? Amazing. You excited?
I think I'll be excited, and then I think the reality of the logistics would, be a lot of calculations being done quite quickly.
What would be something? Sorry to interrupt. What would be something as a father you would want to instill in your kids? What would you want them to look at you and your legacy and what you stand for?
Look, I think what's really important at the end of the day is strong, good, healthy values. And they can just be simple values, like the value of being able to socialize, to treat others with respect and love and kindness, and not be hooked on bloomin' dopamine. You know, I think
phones or no phones.
Limited. I think. I think going back to the ROI conversation, what is the net ROI of giving a phone to a kid? What is the actual use of it going to be that is going to add value to their life versus in the long term subtract from it? I think you should do that ROI calculation before just blindly giving them.
Well, then that becomes a balance between. I'll just push this turns off every 30 minutes, but I just changed the camera, so we've got 5 minutes. It's a balance. Like, you think about all the most important values you've developed. What did that come from? Some level of suffering, in simple terms. In order to develop patience, you need to wait. In order to develop hard work, you need to consistently work hard. So in a way, if you protect your children from the realities of the world, then the realities of the world are going to find them regardless. But then also, if you don't share the phone with them early on, they might have a better chance. So as a future father, how do you think you'd navigate the giving them enough suffering so they have the values?
I'll just feed them a little bit of suffering on a spoon,
Well, you kind of need to, don't you?
Yeah, well, I don't claim to know all the answers. I'm sure I'll find a lot along the way.
It's such a cop-out question.
But I think the opposite is true in the sense that, we live in a world where there's a lot of shortcuts, back in my day, you had to turn on the internet and let it dial up and wait, and I forgot. Yeah, it goes, and then you know the one.
Yeah, you beatbox
and then connects, and you wait for the pop up, and then finally you are now connected. You open the browser, So you had to develop a lot of patience around things, or going back to the cartoons after school. You had to wait a whole week for the next thing. But all these things develop values of patience, And if you can't develop patience at home and everything has to be instant, you have to be gratified instantly, and then you're going out into a world where that is, I think you can develop some core skills at home that are going to be invaluable for going into the world. I don't think you need to experience instant gratification. It'll come to you before you know it anyway. You go around to your friend's place and they have Uber Eats, and they can get any food as soon as they want it now. I don't think you can escape it unless you go live in a field. So, in the orchard, was it the fruit orchard?
Yeah, the
fruit commune.
Yeah,
maybe
maybe
the fruit commune. Maybe in the fruit commune, you might be safe. But I think just basic, really good principles is what is going to prepare you, and you're gonna have to face society pretty quickly anyway.
Good. Well, this has been a very random podcast. But I've enjoyed it. Okay, I tend to just abruptly end things purely for retention. So, thanks for coming on the podcast, brother.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.